Tonight on KPBS Evening Edition, U.S. warships and Marines head to Libya in the aftermath of a deadly attack on a U.S. consulate.
And massive budget cuts to California's court system have shut down civil and criminal courtrooms from downtown to North County. Coming up, which courts have closed and who's being laid off, and how the changes could affect access to the legal system.
And a Del Mar group is giving disabled kids some real role models. KPBS Evening Edition starts now. Hello, good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Dwayne Brown. 2 U.S. warships are being moved at this hour to the Libyan coast a day after a deadly attack in Benghazi. The attack killed the U.S. ambassador and 3 others. The Obama administration is trying to determine whether it was a planned terrorist action or the result of a protest against an internet movie criticizing Islam. The Pentagon says the destroyers Laboon and McFall are being sent to the area. Both are based in Norfolk. 50 elite Marines are also being sent tonight to Libya to provide security for diplomats there. Governor Jerry Brown has signed into law the biggest rollback to public pension benefits in California history. It's expected to save taxpayers billions of dollars in the future by increasing the retirement age for new employees, capping the annual payout amount, and requiring workers who are not contributing half of their retirement costs to pay more. The changes will largely affect state and local government workers hired after January 1st next year. It does not include a 401k option nor any changes to reduce health care costs after retirement. A new poll gives President Barack Obama a 22-point lead in California over Republican Mitt Romney. The poll was done for our media partner, 10 News. 57% of those surveyed said they would vote for President Obama in November. 35% said they'd vote for Romney. Nearly half of the Romney supporters say their vote is really a vote against the president. In contrast, 18% of Mr. Obama's supporters say theirs is a vote against Romney. Now, the same survey looked at voter attitudes on 5 state ballot measures, starting with Proposition 30. Governor Brown's proposed tax initiative, or increase, it would raise the state sales tax and income taxes for the wealthy to pay for education and public safety. It's a very close race, 36% saying they'll vote no and 34% saying they'll vote yes. About 29% were undecided. The poll did not ask about a rival initiative, Proposition 38. It would raise income taxes for everyone on a sliding scale. Now, that poll found voters were not as familiar with a bill about auto insurance. Proposition 33 would let insurance companies set prices based on whether a customer had insurance before. Drivers who maintain their insurance would pay less, while drivers who let their policies lapse would pay more. Survey USA says voters aren't focused on Prop 33 yet. 72% say they don't know how they'll vote on it. Only 15% say they'll vote yes. Seems voters were more familiar with Proposition 37, requiring labels on genetically modified food. 51% said they'd vote yes on the measure, while 33% were still uncertain. And the last 2 ballot items on the survey deal with crime and punishment. Proposition 34 would repeal the death penalty, and Proposition 36 would revise California's 3 strikes law. Nearly half of those polled said they would vote against repealing the death penalty. 30% said they'd vote yes, but another 23% were undecided. A lot of voters are also undecided about revising 3 strikes. 34% saying they're not certain. 43% said they would vote yes on Proposition 36. A new study says Facebook is helping to get people to the polls. Researchers at UC San Diego say about 340,000 people voted in the 2010 election because of a single Facebook message posted on Election Day. It included a clickable I Vote button and a link to local polling places. Users could also see pictures of friends who actually voted. Researchers say the study shows social media can affect real-world behavior. San Diegans are likely to face legal delays as courts begin to close due to state budget cuts. Peggy Pico explains how the changes could affect your access to the legal system.
Budget cuts of $500 million to California courts began this week. That trickles down to about $14 million cut from San Diego County courts. As of Tuesday, 6 criminal courtrooms and 1 civil courtroom in downtown are closed. In Vista, 1 juvenile dependency court and the probate court are closed and relocated to downtown San Diego. Ramona's traffic and small claims courts are closed and relocated to Escondido. Also, every Friday, all courthouse business offices will close at noon. Here to explain how these changes could impact legal access is Judge David Danielson, Assistant Presiding Judge of San Diego County Superior Court. Judge Danielson, thank you so much for talking with us today. Explain to us how these changes and these closures will impact everyday folks. Mostly, who will they impact?
Eventually everyone. Because these are really the first of a series of changes. The cuts are going to go much deeper over the remainder of the year, leading up to the start of the next fiscal year.
So when it comes to criminals, isn't there a law, the right to a speedy trial? How is this going to affect that?
Well, the overall look of the courthouse is going to be a much slimmer organization, and the sort of the detriment that comes from these kinds of cuts is going to fall disproportionately on civil, on probate, to family to a certain extent, because we do have constitutional obligations to the criminal courts. We're going to give that priority, as well as handling juvenile matters will have priority.
And there are some provisions that have been made for emergencies, for instance, temporary restraining orders. Also, when it comes to child abuse, child neglect, are there provisions to take care of that?
Yes. You know, whenever we close access to services, we have to take into account the need to have someone available 24 hours a day for search warrants, for emergency protective orders, for bail increases for significant criminals that have been arrested on felony charges. So that's all part of the plan, is that there will be access to justice.
I understand all civil court reporters, meaning the stenographers who document everything that's said in the courtroom, will be laid off. How will that impact people going to trial?
Well, the question then is going to be, how is a record of the proceedings made? The court is not going to be hiring and paying for court reporters, so that if someone wants, in a civil, probate, or in some family matters, a court reporter, they need to bring their own. They'll have to hire their own. There will be no verbatim record. The clerks will be continuing to take the minutes and the notes that they're required to take, and the judge will make decisions, but there's going to be no verbatim record for free.
And I understand. So that, just to follow up on that question, that's going to make a difference. If you have a lot of money, you'll be able to hire your own court reporter. What if you don't?
Well, certainly those who can afford to do so have the right to hire their own court reporter. And for those of us that care about the quality of justice, that means, to a certain extent, those that don't have the financial wherewithal will be, in fact, be disenfranchised, at least to that extent.
And I understand there's another 75 workers who will also be let go. Who are they, and are any of them judges?
The law does not permit us to eliminate judgeships or to terminate judges during the course of a term of office. So that is one of the things that can happen. In our budget situation, the most significant cost to the courts day to day are people, the people that work for us. So those extra 75, in addition to a number of people that have taken early retirement, have been incentivized out of the organization, in addition to the additional court reporters that have been terminated, those people are clerks, independent calendar clerks, court operations clerks. They're the people that process the paperwork and actually do the work that keeps the court going.
And this is just the beginning. There are more cuts coming. Tell us what we can expect in the near future.
Well, I think as we look to the end of this year, there is going to be, in addition to the court reporters leaving, there will be termination of court employees. We're planning on closing a number of civil independent calendar courtrooms and eliminating the staff there, reassigning those judges. The small claims work is going to be centralized so that there will be no more small claims filings, no civil filings, no business office in the South Bay and the East. All of that work will be transferred downtown.
All right, and then I guess for all these, we're kind of anticipating, I don't know if that's the word, what would your advice be to people in trying to navigate the legal system during this cutback time?
Well, there's two bits of advice. Number one is the impact of all of this is going to slow down things, so that unless you're in a high-profile criminal case, unless you're in a high-profile juvenile matter, the rest of the court system is going to be operating much more deliberately, much more slowly. So plan ahead. The second bit of advice.
Plan ahead by staying out of trouble.
That's my second bit of advice. Be reasonable, stay out of court.
All right, Judge Danielson, we're out of time. Thank you so much for talking with us about this.
Yeah, it's good to talk to you.
A small prison-based seminary training program is reaching hundreds of inmates in California. The Urban Ministry Institute prepares inmates to start churches or continue theology studies upon their release. Jillian Flakis of the Associated Press takes a look at one class at the California Rehabilitation Center in Narco.
It's very easy, okay? Who knows it by heart? I know somebody's got to know it by heart. Not by my mind,
nor by power, my spirit, says the Lord.
right there that tells you this is Old Testament, okay? This ain't new.
I'm serving a 14-year sentence, and I have just shortly over 2 years left on that. It was a fight that got out of hand, and I went way overboard and ended up stabbing a guy. The Urban Ministry Institute is a program for, it's a Bible-based program for leaders that are getting out and getting into the community, that are going to be church planners, evangelist type activity. It's for people, it's actually for gearing leaders up to take leadership roles on the street.
Everywhere in the New Testament, it gives witness to Jesus Christ, the purpose, the mission.
I've known that I was called into ministry since I was about 12 years old, and I ran away from it for years. When I came into prison and I gave my life back to the Lord, I began to see that I was still called to leadership roles. What Toomey has done is it showed me how to be a leader.
So everything that we're being taught in these ministries, everything that we're being taught in this class, in this Toomey, in this 16-course curriculum, everything that we're being taught, we're to go out and we're to teach.
I was just a young kid who I was looking for somebody. I was looking for the kind of leadership that I found in this program, but I was looking for leadership and I was looking for somebody to lead me, and I just found it in all the wrong places.
Life can be challenging for kids who live in a wheelchair, and finding adults who understand what they're going through isn't easy. A nonprofit group in Del Mar has launched a program called Role Models, pairing these kids with a disabled adult mentor. KPBS health reporter Kenny Goldberg says it's all about getting them to see the possibilities.
This promises to be a special day for 10-year-old Jerlina Bailey and her mom, Traylina Thomas.
So don't scream. So today we're going to go spend the whole day at SeaWorld and with your role model. You're just going to follow her around. You guys are going to get to talk and spend time together. I think that's pretty awesome. So it'll be just me, you, and your role model. That cool? Okay, now you can scream.
Thomas has something else to say to her daughter.
I know it's been difficult for you because you're around everybody who has who can walk, and I know that it's hard for you. So mommy entered so that way I can get you somebody that's more like you and can explain to you that you can be anything you want to be. Same thing I tell you every day.
For Jerlina Bailey, going from room to room in her small apartment is a struggle, let alone getting ready to leave for the day.
I need you to grab me a couple of diapers and some calves.
They're panties, thank you.
Excuse me, your panties, please.
When Bailey was 4 years old, she was hit by a car as she was crossing the street. She lost her eyesight and hearing on her left side, her ability to walk, and control of her bladder. You might say she lost her independence. Bailey tries to stay positive.
You need some oil, or some new rims, or some tip oil.
We'll probably just need the whole new wheelchair. Huh?
Bailey and Thomas finally make their way outside. Bailey says she's looking forward to meeting her mentor.
I'm looking for her to understand where I'm coming from. I'm looking for that she knows how she feels, and she knows that it's uncomfortable for people just to look at me. And I cry because I'm like, why do people look at me? Have you ever seen somebody in a wheelchair before? Like, how is that hard to understand? And maybe she'll get it. And I'm pretty mad at that man. He only got 2 years in prison, and I got the rest of my life in a wheelchair. How fair is that? Red Knight almost went down.
At SeaWorld, the Role Models program gets underway as 7 kids and their mentors get acquainted.
I'm looking forward to see the sharks.
Role Models is operated by the nonprofit group Head North. The program is designed to give kids with disabilities someone who can help them navigate through life.
There's questions that come along the way about how they're going to relate to their peers in certain situations with sports and with school and things like that. And they need somebody to talk to that about. You know, they want somebody else who's been in that same situation to just share their wisdom with.
I'm excited to be here because I haven't been here since I was 10.
Bailey's mentor is 32-year-old Jennifer McCaulson. She broke her neck 12 years ago in a cheerleading accident. McCaulson admits since then she's had her ups and downs, but she says she's also learned that attitude is everything.
We create our own destiny, you know, and I think it starts in your mind. And you know the saying, you are what you eat? I think you are what you think. And no one can tell me what I can and can't do, only myself.
Bailey likes that philosophy, and she shares some of her wisdom with McCaulson.
You can't go back and you can't rewind what you did. You gotta keep going, and you can't let that life in a wheelchair stop you.
I think that's all the advice I need.
Well, I think they pretty much left us, so let's go.
And we're gonna watch Shamu, we're gonna have lunch, and then we're gonna do the pet show.
The pair head off to explore the theme park. There are a couple of planned activities, and then
you and I can do whatever we want. Hey yo, we're the boss. I know, turn it up. Then we're gonna rule the schools, sister.
And I'm gonna be like, I'm in a wheelchair.
We can go bowling for people. How about that?
Yeah, I think we'll get a camera and we'll just roll it at people. How about that?
That would look pretty funny.
Bailey and her mentor make their way to the Shamu show.
I'll give you a nudge if you need, okay?
Bailey has a little trouble on the final stretch.
Go hard left, hard left. There you go. There you go. You got a hard left. More on the left. You got that. No, you got it. We're almost there. You got it.
Bailey and McCaulson eventually grab some spots and enjoy the show.
You want to go right here? Perfect. Here we go.
The good times continue at lunch. As Bailey and her mentor enjoy each other's company, Traylina Thomas steps back and takes a deep breath.
For a mom, it's very difficult to see your own child struggle. And to see someone come in that has the same disability and that can push her to go beyond. I don't know if you caught her going down the hill. That was her first time doing it all by herself without my help. It made me feel so good. Like, oh my gosh, so good that I don't have to be there every step.
Everybody look.
Someone else can show her, you know, that they can do it so she can do it, you know.
Look right here.
In tonight's Public Square, we've been asking you what issues matter most to you in this election on our KPBS website, and so far, we've received a variety of responses. Christina Gisbert emailed us to say the preservation of abortion, contraception, women's rights, and gay marriage rights are the most important. Trickle-down economics scares the hell out of me, she added. Peking Duck is the name of a frequent commenter on kpbs.org. He wrote the most important issue to him is health care. It's a basic human right. But not so much to Roxanne. She posted, climate change is the most important issue to me this election. We must take this issue more seriously, and we must act sooner rather than later. And from our KPBS Facebook page, a succinct post about political priorities from Judy Kai, simply Citizens United and Super PACs. Tell us what's most important to you in the upcoming election by tweeting us at KPBS, posting on our Facebook page, or email us at publicsquare@kpbs.org.
San Diego comics author Batton Lash just released his first supernatural law book in 4 years, and KPBS arts reporter Beth Accomando attended his recent book signing in Claremont.
Hi, I'm Robert Scott. We're at Kamikaze Comics, Books, and More. We're here today to celebrate the release of The Monsters Meet on Court Street, which is Batton Lash's first new supernatural law collection in 4 years.
Well, supernatural law is about my two lawyers, Elena Wolf and Jeff Bird, who are counselors of the macabre, and their practice consists of the supernatural and the supernaturally afflicted. So who's scarier than Dracula? His attorneys. The Monsters Meet on Court Street is exactly what it says. There's a lot of monsters in here.
I think it's really important, one, for the creators to be able to meet the public and see who's reading their work. It's also, I think, important for the fans to be able to put a face to the names on the credit pages.
The comics industry is very much what Dickens once said. It's the best of times, it's the worst of times. I think there's probably more quality material out there in comics than ever before. That's the good news. The bad news is sales are just not what they should be. Cartoonists, whether they're writers or artists, are compelled to create, so they do what they can to get going. And I think personal events at comic book stores and conventions are very important, because when the general public comes in, they just see the wealth of material that the comics medium offers. I mean, there's a comic for, I think, every stripe, every age, every topic. And the more people find out what a really wonderful medium this is, I think they'll be hooked.
And you can learn more about the Monsters Meet at Court Street on Beth Accomando's blog on our website, kpbs.org/cinemajunkie. You can also find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. PBS NewsHour is coming up next with more on the attack in Libya and the U.S. response. Again, 4 Americans were killed yesterday in Benghazi. The U.S. ambassador to Libya is among the dead. 2 U.S. warships are now en route to the Libyan coast. Thanks again for joining us. You have a good night.